Fill her up.
You're listening to the Gas Digital Network.
What do you want to do with your life? I want to talk. Welcome to I Want to Talk. You know who I am. And I am coming to you from the middle of the, is it Caribbean or Caribbean? I live on the Caribbean, so I should know which it is. But I don't. I am on a cruise, something I swore I would never do. I've been offered cruises for a decade now. They've become very, very popular. Everybody's got cruises. And I have passed on dozens. And finally, they made me the 80s cruise. Made me an offer I could not refuse. Because as established in previous shows, I'm a whore, but I'm an expensive whore. So, when you first get the invitation, the offer, it's like 2 years earlier. Like we were, I've been on the cruise now for a couple of days, and it's, well, I'll get to that in a second. But they are announcing at all events next year's lineup. All right, so that's a year from now, and I had been booked for this thing probably 6 months to a year before that. So when I got this offer to do this cruise and I finally caved and said, okay, I'll do it, I followed that with, who knows, 2 years from now, I could be dead. But I'm not, and I'm on the cruise, and I really was dreading cruises. I've never been on a cruise, but the idea of being trapped, so to speak, stuck in an environment, I know, and you're saying, well, you've seen these ships. They're huge. They're cities. How stuck can you possibly be? But still, mentally, I know I can't leave the complex, and that fucks with my head. So, but we got on the cruise, and I've got an incredible suite, stateroom thingy. It's I love to show you around this place. It's insane. It's massive. Well, put it this way: I have a grand piano right next to me. You can't see it, but it's right next to me. So when they got a grand piano in your room, it gives you an idea how big the room is. But boat's cool. It's an 80s cruise. It's not a metal cruise. So I'm the metal aspect of this cruise, and I'm the host of the cruise. So, and there's a lot. You've got everybody from Tiffany to The Fix to OMD. Who else is here? Sheila E., Kenny Loggins. I mean, it's a real, the MTV VJs are here. It's a real 80s thing. And someone's screaming, Dee, that's not metal. It's not. It's not metal. I'm not trying to pretend it is metal. But, I'm an expensive whore. So they made me the offer. And I took it, and I'm here with my wife. My wife got to bring her brother and her best friend. And it's, and I got my band here. I'm doing a couple of shows, hosting a lot of things. And the spirit of this thing is pretty cool. It's basically spring break for adults. And all these people do from the minute you leave port is they start drinking and partying. But, they've earned the right. And it's a safe environment, relatively speaking, except for the sun where you can get blasted. You pass out drunk and you get blasted. But, people have earned this moment's fun in the sun, so they should have it. So, yeah, but I'm pretty impressed with how hard these people party. It's pretty crazy. But everything's really cool. I'm digging it. So now I'm recording my show here. Again, if this camera is not centered, I am not a roadie. And yet I am setting these things up for myself. So I try to make them position, but there's so many variables on the tripod. It's just ridiculous. And one thing they don't have, which I think they should have, is a level. So you can make the shot level, but be that as it may, this is what I'm doing. So in the continued, what's the word I'm looking for? And it continued, or maybe I'll show you I'll show you around the boat in the bonus footage. Maybe I'll show, it's really pretty incredible. Actually, it's like staggering. The opulence. Anyway, I'm using social media as my guide for what I should be talking about. And this week's subject was really obvious. And it was a reaction to an article I posted. Somebody else posted. Actually, I posted it, but somebody passed it on to me. And it was an article, and actually turned out to be an old article. Turned out to be 3 years old. But I bet that the information is still accurate. And basically, it was an article saying that Spotify had discovered that heavy metal was the most popular music form on their platform, above pop. Pop is second to metal. And it dealt primarily with the loyalty of metal fans, that they returned most often to hear the music. And so, but there was that article, and that got huge reaction on social media from you guys. And then there was one on the fact that metal fans are, on the whole, smarter people. That I found that article. And then there's an article we talked about in the past, which says that that heavy metal fans grow up to be better adjusted adults. So these three articles, I've come upon them, shared them with you. You guys have reacted to them. And the interesting thing, someone said, why is that? They tweeted, D, why do you think that is? Hence, this thing right here. Talking to you about this subject and what have you. And I have been a fan. I am OG. I am day one. I've said this before. I'll say it again, and I'll keep on saying it. It's a matter of pride for me. Yes, it is. I'm going to be 64 in 2 weeks. In about a week, probably from when this airs, March 15th. Jot it on your calendar so you can get me a present next year. And the Ides of March, yes, that's right. I'm a Pisces. And I like the definition of Pisces. We're creatives. We feel. But I hate our logo. Two fish swimming in opposite directions. How offensive is that? A, fish? Seriously? And B, they're swimming in opposite directions. They don't know where they want to go. They're so confused. Not true. That said, for you astrology nuts, I do have Aries rising, like a baby's arm holding an apple. And and by the way, this is an aside. If you're not an astrology fan, very few people are what they call triple of an astrological sign. Most people, when you have your charts done, and charts are based on the day you were born, the time you were born, the place you were born, when they do charts, usually you've got characteristics from all different astrological signs. I've had my astrological chart done professionally at some point in my life, and there was a little bit over here, a little bit over there. You're a Pisces by birth, but your rising, your other things like that, they are in different areas. So to sit there and read, Sagittarius, your moon is in the second house, it really doesn't necessarily reflect you, because few people are triple Sages or triple Pisces. That's when your house and I don't know I know the house is one of them, but there's three markings, and it's rare when people have their birth sign in every single one. That's a rarity. And just another little aside, just a point of interest. I think it's a point of interest. Suzette and I, we had our charts done the first year we were going out professionally. And that was 76. And the astrologer said they had never seen two more compatible people in all their years of doing astrological charts. And Suzette scoffed, She wanted nothing to do with me at that point. Well, not nothing, but she certainly was not going the distance with this guy. And I was looking at her going, I knew it. You're the one. I was right. She was wrong. She admits it. She's only been wrong twice. Really wrong twice. Guys who have wives, steady girlfriends, significant others, female. I don't know if this applies in the gay world, actually, with two males. Because I know a lot of other things don't apply in the gay world with two males. Like, males, even if they're gay, they still act like males, and that's dogs who want to fuck everything. That's not a criticism. That's just a male tendency. Women don't have that tendency. Yet, the more of the feminine male in a gay relationship doesn't from what I've heard and from what I've seen, and I've seen and heard a lot, does not fall into the pattern of, I'm a one man woman kind of thing, and lesbians, they bring that trait with them. Even if they're butch, they bring that, that's celibate, not celibate, that's wrong. No, you know what I'm saying? They're monogamous. They bring that monogamy with them. So anyway, but if you've got a female in your life, you know that they are annoyingly accurate. They're annoyingly on the money. They're annoyingly right. Way too much. 43 years, I've pretty much learned to not even bother to argue anymore. I still will do it because it just, I know this one. She's wrong, and she's not wrong. It's frustrating as hell. I don't understand it. It's a female characteristic. That's not a sexist thing. And I wish I could say it was a male characteristic, that we were always right. We may think we're always right, but we're not. So where was I? Oh, so Suzette is painfully correct, but she's been wrong twice. 2 times in a big way. Two. 1, she was wrong about us. She wanted nothing to do with me. I don't know what it was. Something clicked. Yeah, she was screaming hot, but it was more than that. It was just something. I remember when her father was threatening to kill me. He said, "What do you want with a 15-year-old girl?" I was 21. And in my brain, I said, I want to marry her. But if I say that out loud, he'd say I was insane. I just met her the day before, 2 days before. So, but she was wrong about that, and she admits it. It's very clear that we were meant to be together on so many levels. It's just, the whole soulmate thing, people call twin flames, all that kind of stuff. We have it. The second thing Suzette was wrong about was we're not going to take it. I played her that song, and she went, it's okay. I don't really like it. And I said, oh, no, this is a hit. And she said, yeah, I don't think so. That song has paid for our lives. And I waved the 2 times she was wrong like a freaking flag. We were meant to be together, and we're not going to take it. Wrong twice. 2 big ones. 2 victories for me. Victory. So, back to the matter of heavy metal fans being more loyal, smarter, and better adjusted. Why is that? Now, I said I'm OG metal fan. I'm day one. As I said, I say it all the time because I'm really proud of it. Look, like I said, birthday's coming up. I'm going to be 64 years old. And I've been a metal fan since it wasn't called metal. It was called hard rock. And it really was just sort of separating from the rock of the 80s, things that were more edgier. And there was bands like Cream, Mountain, Jimi Hendrix. They were edgier. even when you go back to the earlier 60s, mid 60s, I'd say about 66, 67, I was a fan of Paul Revere and the Raiders. Paul Revere and the Raiders there was the Monkees and Paul Revere and the Raiders. Both were on TV. Paul Revere and the Raiders were on a TV show called Where the Action Is every day. And they were a West Coast band. And while I like the Monkees, I like Paul Revere and the Raiders better because they were harder. They were edgier. Their lyrics, like Hungry, was about sex, and Kicks was about drugs. Veiled, because they were still pop bands, but they were edgier, they were harder. And there's many times it's been said that Paul Revere and the Raiders was like sort of the precursor to hard rock, which went on to be metal. And a lot of early hard rock bands and guys who went on to be metal bands were fans of Paul Revere and the Raiders. It was just they were harder. So as it went and it became hard rock, and it wasn't called heavy metal, and I was there for the first Blue Cheer record. I was there for the first Mountain record. I was there for the first Black Sabbath, Grand Funk Railroad, Led Zeppelin. These are the bands that begat heavy metal. These are the bands that defined heavy metal, and they didn't think they were heavy metal. There was no word. They would have said they were hard rock. They would have said they were hard rock. That's where, by the way, the hard rock cafes came from, the edgier music. And it pisses me off that the hard rock hotels and hard rock cafes and hard rock casinos are very general in their acceptance of anything that's on the radio, what they call rock and roll. They've forgotten that they were about rock. And I believe the first guitar, I can be correct if I'm wrong, but that whole thing with where they hang stuff, I believe it was Eric Clapton, who was in a hard rock band called Cream, who gave the owner a guitar to hang on the wall. It's still the most treasured item in all of the hard rock corporation is this Eric Clapton guitar. So, and then when people, after Eric donated, other stars donated. But it was about being hard. It was about being heavy. It was about being loud. But all these bands, Black Sabbath, I mean, I've talked about this before, that they wanted to be a jazz blues fusion band. Yeah, that didn't work out too well. I mean, I remember seeing them in 73, 74, probably 74. And when Iommi would do his guitar solo, it was a jazz solo. Jazz. Nobody knew what the hell was going on because they still, by 74, had not recognized that they had reinvented the wheel. And that there was a music here that was defining its audience. So for some reason, and this I don't have the answer to, for some reason in the early 70s, there was certain people who were drawn to more aggressive sound, a harder sound. And the sound had the aggression. Lyrical aggression came later. And I think Alice Cooper had a lot to do with that. Because when you look at Sabbath words and Zeppelin words, yes, Sabbath's got some stuff going on, spooky stuff occasionally in their titles, Children of the Grave, Black Sabbath. But lyrically, the intent, they were hippies, very much so. And Geezer Butler wrote the words for the early Sabbath stuff. And he was this stuff is borderline religious, quite honestly. No, not Sweet Leaf or Iron Man or something like that. But a lot of these songs, there's a lot of spirituality in there. And they're not war pigs. It's a protest song. So and look at Ozzy's big move on stage. The peace sign. That's the hippie. The hippie. Robert Plant could be more of a hippie, more of a space cadet. I think the first band to bring in dark lyrical content, really dark lyrical content, was Alice Cooper. With Sick Things and Dead Babies and Under My Wheels and these songs, these rebellious, threatening, edgy lyrics. And they were, look, Alice Cooper, they wanted to be the Doors. They wanted to be a psychedelic band. They sucked. They were a shitty psychedelic band. No one ever intends to invent a new format. No one sits there and go, I am going to create a new music. No, they try to do something. They're not good at it, and it becomes something else. David Bowie, he wanted to be the next Beatles. As I say in the Rock and Roll Christmas Tale, I'd never seen Sir Paul with glitter lip gloss. No. They try one thing, and it just goes wrong, and they become something else. But now Alice is a psychedelic band, and they start doing these bizarro songs with these bizarro lyrics feeding into their audience. That the lyrics developed as the audience hungered for them. The songs got more depraved. The audience wanted it. But I don't have the answer as to why. In the 70s, you didn't see it. Up to Woodstock, everything was unified. Zeppelin wasn't there, Black Sabbath wasn't there, and they existed. But it was very hippie, it was very unified, the Woodstock Nation, everybody liked everything. I didn't. I was the first generation who didn't like everything. I was the first generation that said, I hate Richie Havens. I hate Country Joe and the Fish. I hate Crosby, Stills and Nash. Make it hard. Mountain. 10 years after. First band I ever saw in concert. Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, Blue Cheer, Grand Funk Railroad. There was a line in the sand. Boy, Grand Funk was a band that people loved or hated. And I was one of the lovers. Right out of the gate, on time, first album. When I heard the commercials, I was at the store waiting for it to come out. First album. But this was all hard rock. And it got darker and darker and darker. But why? And that is the one answer I don't have. I'll expound on other things about heavy metal. But I don't know why at that time we needed angry, heavy music. The music that became heavy metal. Now I know why personally we needed it. I know why I needed a music that expressed my frustration, my anger, my hostility, my anxiety, my depression, all those things. I needed to let it out. And that was the beauty of the music. But why then? Why? Or was the music that existed already doing that for the previous generations? Because I can't believe that suddenly young people needed dark music. Suddenly young people needed to express these emotions. I don't believe that. I can't believe that. So they must have had an outlet. But here, with heavier music, for me, not being a popular kid, not being, not getting along with my parents, not fitting in, feeling like an outcast, so much frustration, so much anger, a loner. And I come home and I put on these hard rock records and I would rock out in front of a mirror. People say, how did you learn to perform? In front of a mirror, no hairbrush. I wasn't a hairbrush guy, just the microphone, rocking out. But I'd rock so hard, I'd be sweating. And I feel better. That was my ritual. Go to school, come home, feel like shit, rock out, feel better. This is what it did for me. And this is why, and this is what it continues to do. And this is why the article came out, headbangers, metal fans are better adjusted adults than non-metal fans. Because we have that outlet. We have that angry music, that aggressive music, that dark music that expresses all those same emotions. And after expressing them, we feel better for it. I always said, we're going to throw a fist. Do you want it in somebody's face or in the air? The energy, same energy is released. Same energy is released. But here, someone's hurt. Here, nobody's hurt. Energy's gone. Catharsis. We feel better. The release is there. So, growing up with that music, and by the way, I've said it a million times, Rob Halford said, being a headbanger is like being in the Marines. Once a Marine, always a Marine. Once a headbanger, always a headbanger. Let that sink in. It doesn't go away. It doesn't get better. I find myself, on plane flights with a pair of, earbuds in, listening to metal, and I'll realize, when I listen to metal, it's always, even if I'm sitting, and I'm going, what are people thinking? If they don't know I'm Dee Snider, and some people don't know, what am I? Some weird old guy thrashing in his plane seat. And I know they're going to be injecting me in the home going, he's having a seizure because I'm listening to Motorhead and quick, give him a shot. No, don't give me a shot. I'm going to die this way. We all are. And we feel better after. We feel better after we rock. We feel better after we've sang. We feel better after we've physically let the darkness out. And we go on in the world and we're better for it. We're better people for it. We're better adults for it. We're better parents for it. We're better friends for it. We're better husbands. We're better wives. This is just a fact. Everybody needs this. And there's no other music that really lets that happen. I think to a degree from what I've seen, these raves and things like that, and and some of these dubstep things, these aggressive party things. People, look, they're singing, they're sweating, they're jumping, they're getting that energy out. It's not a darkness to it. I think we benefit from the angry words, honestly. I think that really allows us, if there's hatred, to say the hateful words, gets it out of the system. I don't know if raves where you're smiling ear to ear and loving everybody, if that can do it. But at the same time, working up a sweat. I'll tell you a form of music that I believe gives the release as well. Gangster rap. The dark, heavy, angry rap music. It's got the power. It's got the veracity. It's got the words, the anger, the frustration, letting all that darkness out. And that's why and I believe that the one failing of grunge rock, and I like grunge, was that it was too whiny. The 90s got too whiny. And that's why we lost a lot of metalheads to hip hop and rap, because they wanted to say fuck you, and grunge and emo music and all that kind of stuff that was going on in the 90s and 2000s for the most part was not giving that outlet. So metal fans, young people who would have been young metal fans by droves, went to hip hop because they needed that outlet. They need that outlet. So I think that's the one other music there. But because of that outlet, we are healthier for it. And, I was having a conversation with wrestler Mick Foley. Great guy, brilliant guy. I could do a show on Mick. We're great friends. Real inspiration to me. But we were talking about the fact that people are confused by our demeanor. That in the ring and on stage, we're one thing. One thing. But off stage, we appear to be the opposite. So there's this perception that Mick and I, separately, are doing an act, that it's a character. I mean, to a degree, of course, Cactus Jack is a character. Dude Love's a character. Mankind were characters. But the aggressive behavior of Mick Foley in the ring, the aggressive behavior of Dee Snider on stage. Our conversation was that what people don't understand is it's two sides of the same coin. You can't separate the sides of the coins. They can't exist separately. You can't say, oh, I've got the tails and I've got the heads. No, it's one coin. It's not a complete coin without the head side and the tail side. And we are not complete people without our aggressive side and our more genteel side. But also, and this was a part of our conversation, the genteel side exists because of the aggressive side. The aggressive side allows us to vent, allows us to Podcastus Interuptus. This is going to be the most choppy podcast I've done. I don't know how I'm remembering where I was or what I did. I'm on this cruise, and so I keep getting interrupted, whether it's by my family or having to make an appearance. I just did a Q&A on the boat, which was really cool, went really well. But now I'm wearing different clothes. It's like, I was wearing the mask last week. So we're talking about metal fans being smarter, metal fans being better adjusted, metal fans being more loyal on Spotify report. And I talked about the being better adjusted, that we have that outlet. Being smarter, I don't know, certainly there are moronic metal fans, but and certainly a lot of the music can be very common and very simple, message wise and intelligence wise, lyrically, sex, drugs, rock and roll, especially in the 80s. But a lot of metal music is much headier. My lyrics were never about that. I was saying more. Iron Maiden's lyrics are always really exploring things, and so many of the metal bands, and they get into, now I don't want to get a separate argument. Is Queen a metal band? And I've argued that point as day one fan that I am, that they go back to the hard rock days. And Brian May's, one of his main influences is Tony Iommi from Black Sabbath. And there are Black Sabbath licks on early Queen albums. So there's they come from a time where you played a variety of sounds. As Sabbath had madrigal acoustic songs on their record in between these devastatingly heavy tracks. So people say, Queen wasn't metal. I am the original metal fan. I shall be the judge. Yes, I shall be. And they had a metallic side for sure. And I remember lyrically, lyrics were so crazy at times. A song like the Fairy Feller's Master Stroke. I remember sitting with a dictionary, looking up every word, and it all made sense. They were smart guys. Brian May is a doctor now, not a medical doctor. He has his doctorate. They were like brilliant people individually in that band. So there's a lot of really smart people that are drawn to metal, and a lot of the lyrics, a lot of the, look at Megadeth's lyrics, heavily political lyrics. Look at Dio's lyrics. Always the dragons and demons and wizards, but that's fanciful. That feeds the imagination. It's not just I want to get laid, I want to get high, or let's party, which was pretty much the pop song, or this guy broke up with me, So I think that metal appeals to smarter people, and it made people smarter. It made me smarter. I wasn't a great student, but studying these songs, I read Tolkien. I read Lord of the Rings because Robert Plant wrote about it in his songs. He referenced Lord of the Rings, and he made me read a trilogy of books, plus The Hobbit, just because he was opening my eyes. Rush, not really a metal band, early on, much more metallic, but still lyrically intelligent. And the prog metal It offers something that's beyond simplicity. A lot of metal like AC/DC is simple by design. And it's not, you're not, growing any brain cells rocking out to AC/DC. But there's a lot of metal that is technically intelligent. So there's that. Finally, on metal being more popular based on loyalty to the format than pop music, and that's, there's a lot of things that comes from. One of them is the investment that the metal fan makes in their band. We discover a band and we fight for that band. We're invested in that band emotionally, mentally, verbally. We spread the word. We share the information that we've learned, and we wear their colors. We wear their T-shirts. We wear their patches. I know that's an old thing, but it's still going on. Metal fans have intense loyalty and dedication to the band. Pop fans, very much the flavor of the month. Pop fans, it's what's the word? It's a very immediate thing, and that's great. And that's why more pop metal has a quicker burn than other metal stuff. We're not going to take it as its staying power, but it came on very strong, very quickly, and there was a burnout factor on the song for a period where people, tired of it quickly. Where deeper Twisted Sister cuts or Maiden cuts, for example, you didn't get to hear it on the radio. You only heard it on the album. So you didn't have that wear out factor, and pop music is like that. You burn through the songs, you burn through the artists, unless they keep putting out those pop songs that are engaging the listener and it's really a matter of, hey mom, I know you gave birth to me, but what have you done for me lately? Metal fans treasure songs and albums from their bands, and they remain treasures. They don't have a quick burn. They didn't get to hear it on the radio a million times. I mean, some bands they did, and we, and I was one of them, suffer for it, when you have that. But metal, as a rule, is not the flavor of the month or the flavor of the day. It is something that, if it becomes popular, it's earned. It's earned by fans sharing with other fans, people looking for it, searching for it, finding it, discovering it, savoring it, and it becomes important to you. It becomes a part of you. And that's where the loyalty comes in. So you've got the loyalty, you've got the intelligence, and the other third thing, which I've already... and people being better adjusted for having this incredible outlet, emotional outlet that metal provides. So I'm a metalhead from day one. I've championed it. I'm so happy that with my new record, even though I've always been there, and I have always been there passionately, and other bands, young bands, will tell you what a supporter I am of them, going to see these bands and spreading the word about bands and giving a helping hand to young bands. But for the love of metal, I have put out a record that reflects my core belief system and brought me back into contact with the loyalist, smartest, most well-adjusted music fans in the world. And I'm damn happy to be here, and I'm damn happy to be talking to you about this subject. And I don't know if I shed any light. As always, I try to shed my light, my opinion. And, opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one, and they all stink. So, you may disagree. I now have an email address and a phone number you can leave a voicemail. So I want to hear from you with your thoughts, comments, if you opinions on the things I'm talking about, or anything if you want to tell me what you want me to talk about, or who you'd like me to interview, let me know. Okay? So the email address is iwannatalkpodcast@gmail.com. So the letter I, wanna, WANNA, talk, TALK. I want to talk podcast@gmail.com. And then I have a voicemail box you can call. And if you leave a reasonably intelligent and not intelligent, but just, clear message, I might be able to use it on the show in a coming show. And the phone number there is 929-356-5369. 929-356-5369. Okay? So call or email. Let me know what you think. Until next time, I'm going to do some bonus footage. I'm gonna film this insane suite I'm in. Trust me, it's worth seeing. I'll do a little bonus footage in just a little bit. All right, bye.